That's the sound of how I feel this morning.
That sounds like
grinding.
Sounds like
grinding it out,
blood
Chris.
boiling on the asphalt.
Oh, dude, it's like one of those fucking days, bro. One of those days. But anyway, welcome back, everybody. Welcome back to Outside the Cinema, your weekly source for cult movie discussions. We're your hosts, Bill and Chris. 17 years strong and still grinding away.
Still pissed about some of the movies I watch. Nothing changes.
Yeah, but you know what, man? It's fine.
No, I don't.
It's fine.
Yeah. Well, that's fucked up.
Anyway, this week we're wrapping up a month of rewatches. So we have gone back through our archives and looked at films that we had reviewed back in the day that we either feel we may have changed our opinion on or just didn't remember what we thought of them, and we've seen them kicked around and thought they deserved a second look.
Yeah.
This week...
This week we went off topic.
Generally, for me, okay, so my pick for this week was John Carpenter's The Ward.
Which I'd never seen.
Starring... Right. I don't know if we had done a full-fledged review on it or if it was like one of those shows where we did like an end of year one where we gathered a bunch of stuff from the year.
Probably was that,
Either way,
yeah.
we had talked about it on the show.
I remember
or at least I
a
had.
little bit, but this was all new to me. Absolutely new. I know that for a fact for once in my life.
Well, that's good. That's good. And at this point, it was the last feature that John Carpenter had directed. Yeah. And strangely enough, I mean, that's 15 years ago now at this point, which is interesting. And I think is something we can talk about a little bit in the review itself. But the other film was a film that Chris chose because you either weren't sure if you didn't cover it or just remembered nothing about it, right?
Right. And I hadn't seen it.
Okay, so Death Dimension starring Jim Kelly.
Yes.
Which is a guilty pleasure of mine for sure.
That's a good way to put it, I think.
Yeah, for sure. So those are the two features this week. We are going to be doing a couple of Patreon picks next week because I found some Andre had hit us up and was like, hey, I'm not sure if you saw, but I did suggest these movies.
Okay.
And it just got lost in the shuffle. So, Andre, we're going to do your films for next week. And he chose what he calls one of his favorite movies of the past 5 years, which is Tenet, which he feels is an often overlooked Nolan gem. I haven't watched it.
Here's the thing. We were doing just like to pass the time so there's something on while we're drawing and working on stuff. We'll put on now, we've moved to sci-fi, identify the movie kind of things. And Tenet came up, and I said, "Oh, that's that movie I'm never going to watch."
Nope, now you are.
Hey, at least I have
now
a reason to watch it. So
yes, a legitimate reason.
I'm all for his movies. I'm all for them, but I find them boring.
It's funny because obviously I'm a big fan of his Batman trilogy. I know it hasn't aged as well for some as it has for others, but I still love those movies. I really enjoyed. What was the Inception? I liked Inception.
I remember we went to see that, yeah.
Yep, I obviously still really like his earlier stuff like Memento and Following. Right. But recently I haven't really kept up. Like I didn't watch Tenet. I didn't watch what was his war one? Is it Dunkirk?
Yeah, I get that confused with 1914 because they were in my head that feels like they came out around the same time.
Yeah, didn't watch that. What was the one in outer space? Interstellar?
Yeah.
I didn't watch that either.
It was okay until the end. I didn't like.
It was okay until it wasn't okay anymore.
End, yeah, but I mean, I don't have to like his stuff. But I'm not going to shit on it because story-wise, whatever. He films a beautiful looking picture, regardless of story. He does a very good job getting images onto the screen. I can't deny that.
Okay.
You know.
All right, don't deny it.
Give credit where credit's due, right? I'm trying to say nice things, especially if I criticize harshly in real life. Like if we watch fails, I'm like, look at that dummy over there. Nice jump, though. You know, that kind of thing. Because then it just
and his other
it changes the way you think about stuff. I hope.
Right. And his other pick next week is could not be further from what his Nolan pick is. It's Andy Sedaris' Hard Ticket to Hawaii, which I don't think we've ever actually covered on the show. We have done some Andy Sedaris stuff, but I don't think we've ever actually done Hard Ticket to Hawaii, have we?
Wait, is that the one that everybody was all on about with the black adopted kid who found his parents?
No. That's Miami Connection.
Okay, then I don't think we have. So that's what I thought we were talking about.
We did, I think, Picasso Trigger, and a couple other ones, but Hard Ticket to Hawaii is one that gets mentioned in Survival of the Film Freaks. So the fact that we haven't covered it is actually kind of weird to me. But yeah, so we're going to do those next week. So if anyone wants to play along this week, it is Tenet and Hard Ticket to Hawaii. But this week is what we got to worry about first.
Yeah.
And we're going to talk about John Carpenter's The Ward to start here. I do have a trailer, or at least I did, and we'll see if everything works when I open the app back up. It will. Nope. Of course, no. Why would it have? Why would it have?
I blame the Russians.
I do too. Like, I had it all queued up and ready to go.
Yep.
All right, here we are.
What's the first thing you remember? Fire.
What's your name?
Kristen.
Welcome to the ward, your new home.
Why am I here?
You can't get them to tell you anything. Sometimes they take people away, they don't come back.
If I were you, I'd watch out, new girl. There's a ghost in here.
I'm sure you believe you saw what you say.
I'm not crazy.
She's the last one that got out.
She was one of us, but she's gone now.
And now she's going to kill us all.
You've got to deal with them.
We have to get out of here. Get her in a straitjacket.
That wasn't so bad, was it?
John Carpenter's The Ward.
Yeah. It should be whispered.
All right. It should be. All right. So this was John Carpenter's return to feature filmmaking. Let's obviously, I mean, what if you're listening to the show and you don't know who John Carpenter is, first of all, you've really fucked up. Whether you like him or not, it's another story. But obviously, he is one of the most classic and most revered and most celebrated horror film directors of our or any time. The Fog, Halloween, Escape from New York, The Thing. I mean, his early output, I mean, nearly untouchable.
Right.
Up there with the masters,
Yeah.
if you will.
Yeah.
But to say, again, when we talk about this a lot, when we talk about celebrated directors, just because John Carpenter directed it does not mean that it's good.
Yeah.
And in his filmography, he has a large number, well, I shouldn't say a large number, but he has misses.
Yeah.
And like Argento, Martino, a lot of these other directors that we talk about a lot, they come after he's become the name that he is.
Yeah, that's true.
So just quickly looking at, you know, his stuff, and he tended to early on very much only really direct things that he wrote.
Yeah.
So why is this showing me his, and why would IMDb show me his music department credits first?
Oh, is he touring? That could be why.
Oh, maybe, but
See,
All
I'm
right, we're
trying
gonna
to think of
strictly at-
positive things.
all right. So I appreciate it. So it is pretty much kind of given that Carpenter came into his own with Dark Star, his first feature. Captain Voyeur came out before that, but that was like super low budget and not really. I think it was a film. If I'm not mistaken, it was a film school short that he did.
Okay.
He actually had a few film school shorts that came out before this, but Dark Star is essentially where he cut his teeth in feature filmmaking. And for what it is, with the money that he went into it, he did a really commendable job of making a film that really outlasted what it should have, if that's kind of the right way to put it.
Yeah.
He also moved on to doing Assault on Precinct 13, which has become a classic exploitation film.
I
and
put
then
that off for
obviously,
so long. We did it on the show. That might have been the first time I watched it.
Yeah.
It's been on, I know, but I never paid attention. And it was way better than I expected it to be.
Oh, very good.
Yeah.
Very good. Yeah, very good. But in 1978, he did Halloween, which he wrote and directed.
I think I
with
heard
Deborah
of
Hill.
that.
And yeah, and it is the slasher prototype. We talk about stuff that came before, whether we're talking about Psycho or Bay of Blood, of films that were in that slasher like mold.
Yeah.
But for all intents and purposes, Halloween is the one that started the craze.
Yeah. Well, the
One of the most
B-movie
successful independent
slasher,
films of all time.
right? Because
Right. Yeah.
you got Virgin Spring and that other one that you said. That's
Yeah, but Virgin Spring, like that's got less. I get why that's included in the conversation, but it doesn't have the slasher feel. Like I always kind of
okay.
look back at Psycho as being the Psycho, and Peeping Tom is kind of
okay.
being those like
I see
real
those like
forefathers.
more intelligent. This is like the mud wrestling of slashers.
Mud wrestling of slashers.
Yes,
Okay.
and then Psycho is the professional wrestling of slashers. Just to show they're not that far apart, but it comes down to
I
I
getcha.
think for me the amount of violence, the pleasure in watching the gore, and less characterization and story.
Right.
And that's not a bad thing. I love doing that, putting that shit on and just zoning out. It's great.
Yeah. I mean, Halloween is one of the best of all.
That's probably one of the few bridge between A and B movies, because you watch that now and the suspense in it is just fantastically built. Really good.
100%. So now at this point, John Carpenter can kind of pick and choose what he wants to do, and he kind of does things all over the place. He does that Kurt Russell Elvis film.
Oh yeah.
He returns to horror with The Fog, which I still really, really love. I know it's not the strongest of his films, but there's something about it that I really
The
enjoy.
visuals are great. Absolutely great.
Yeah. And obviously then he tackled sci-fi horror with The Thing, which is another classic. Christine. Starman, which for what it is, I think is very good.
Starman feels like his attempt to do Spielberg.
Yeah, and I think he does a pretty admirable job of it.
Yeah, and it feels different than Spielberg does when you look at it. Like like you look at The Ward and you look at Christine and The Thing, and there's something about the way he focuses on the people, the way the whole scene is set up, the lighting. It's all it's like a guitar tone from your favorite guitarist. Like it's just that. He gets that. Spielberg does this, Del Toro has this, but it's like you can recognize it by the feel of the image. And
Yes.
and he has a very distinct feel, which is just a step better than sleazy, I think, is what he's going
Right,
for.
right.
And that's not an insult.
No, I know exactly. I know exactly where you're coming
weird.
from. Obviously, show favorite and just like best, what's the word I want to use here? Best example of a film that became a cult favorite upon not really necessarily being able to do that strongly in the box office. One of the films that cable really brought to the forefront, Big Trouble in Little China, one of Chris's favorites, obviously. Prince of Darkness, They Live, Memoirs of an Invisible Man, John Carpenter's
yeah.
Body Bags, which is his attempt at the
Yeah, Showtime wanted a Tales from the Crypt. And
Yeah.
it wasn't going to
Yeah.
work, so they just made it into a movie, which is a smart decision. If you don't think it's going to work, don't push it.
right. So Memoirs of an Invisible Man and Body Bags are both just fine.
Yeah.
Comes back strong in 1994 with In the Mouth of Madness, which I think is still one of his strongest and maybe most underappreciated film. I mean, I know that I'm not saying that the film is underappreciated, but like when you talk Carpenter, it's not necessarily the first thing that comes up.
No.
But it's very well known. Village of the Damned, I feel, is a miss, and I'm using that as a specific example because he also did not write the screenplay for it.
Right.
His one attempt at doing a sequel was Escape from L.A. with mixed results.
That's stupid. That's a cavity if you were a tooth. That's just
Right.
raw sugar. I think what it did was it took every idea he had about what to do with Snake and just smashed it into one movie. Because he's like, we're getting older. We're not going to be able to do this shit much longer. let's do all of it. That's kind of what it
Right.
felt like, and I don't mind that. It's got this.
I mean, it was the studio giving him a shitload of money.
Yeah.
Is what it was.
He didn't use it on special effects, so I don't know what was going on.
Oh, they think they used it on the soundtrack.
Yeah. Yeah.
So the next thing he did 2 years later, he did Vampires, which is, I know it's a favorite of Chris and I's, but generally people don't particularly like.
Yeah,
it,
I've watched
I
it
feel.
again recently, and it's okay. It's
Right. Not as strong as we thought it was at the time, because we've gotten some really strong vampire films since then.
yeah. The book that it was based on by Stakely, which is a really funny last name to write a book about vampires.
Right.
The book was really interesting because it delved more into all of the other stuff that happens, like when he goes to the Vatican and talks to people. There's one line, and I know 10 years ago I said this on the show, but there's one line where Crow asks about the werewolves, and they're like, don't worry, that's all set. So it's like, what? Don't do that. Don't do that. Don't. But that's fantastic world building. And
Yeah.
and because it just makes you want more. Did he write the script, the screenplay for Vampires?
He did not. John Steakley did the novel, obviously, and then Don Jacoby did the screenplay.
Okay.
Who also did the screenplay and story for Arachnophobia, Life Force,
Oh,
Evolution, and a couple others.
Evolution was a weird movie.
It was.
It feels like Land of the Lost. Like, is it for kids or adults? What are we doing here?
Yeah, I get that. So after Vampires comes Ghost of Mars, which is universally panned as his probably his worst film.
Oh,
I-
I don't know about that.
Well, we'll get to it.
At the time, we should say at the time.
Not received well.
No.
Not received well. And he worked on the screenplay on that, but it's not a single written by
Yeah, okay.
him.
Okay.
He then did a couple episodes of Masters of Horror, which I know he was involved in. And then we get to 2010, and he is directing his first film since Ghost of Mars, and it is The Ward. Also not written by him, brought in just to direct. And that's where we are at and what we are talking about. He has also not done a feature film since this. So,
Yeah.
The Ward stars Amber Heard before she was the Amber Heard that we know and hate now.
Was this before was she was the girl in Drive Angry, right?
She was, yeah.
I can't remember if that was before or after this. I'll find out.
I think this was before Drive Angry, I believe.
Okay.
So here's the thing with Amber Heard. So we were introduced to Amber Heard in All the Boys Love Mandy Lane, which was a horror film that really has this weird space because it got into this weird legal thing about how it ended up getting released. And so it didn't get released in the US the way it was supposed to. And we had to get a British version of it. And then there was talks about all these weird things. So it kind of got this notoriety that it didn't deserve because it was just hard to get. And people were like, oh, it's it's a great slasher film. It's the type of thing where, it's that forbidden fruit. You're not allowed to watch it.
Yeah. At the time.
Not because of any of
yeah.
it.
Go ahead, sorry.
Not because of anything that was in the film itself. It was just, no, you're not allowed to.
Pretty much, yeah.
She had been in a few things before that. She was in, a lot of TV shows like The OC and some other stuff. But this was kind of her coming out starring role.
Yeah.
And it was also directed by Jonathan Levine, who's gone on to do a bunch of stuff. He did The Whackness. He did Warm Bodies.
Oh, okay.
So he's become a very well-known director since then.
People
but Amber Heard
have really come around to Warm Bodies.
Warm Bodies is very good.
Yeah.
It's very good. The Whackness is very good too.
I don't remember that. I'll check that out.
So, where's Drive Angry? So Drive Angry is... She was in Zombieland. So The Ward is before Drive Angry.
Okay. Oh, was she the neighbor in Zombieland in the beginning?
Yes.
Because there's not many characters in that, so...
No, she was.
Okay.
Yeah, she was. So now, obviously, here we are 15 plus years later, and Amber Heard kind of is become known as a real fucking pain in the
Yeah,
ass.
persona non grata.
Yeah, not even necessarily taking away the issues with the Johnny Depp trial and her being married to him and the accusations between the two of them. It's a very sticky situation.
Yeah.
And from what I can gather is they're both probably just awful.
That's what I was going to
So-
say. The whole thing boils down to these two people weren't good to each other.
Right. And basically tried to take it out on each other.
Yeah.
In physical and court.
Yeah. And then they saw that there
Manner.
could be money made. But now I know that she
Yeah.
took a poop on a bed. So thanks,
We've all
I
been
guess.
And we've all been there. Either way, now because she'd done well for herself. She really had. She got herself into the Aquaman films, which did very well out of the gate.
Yeah. I
She'd
liked
set
how
herself
she
up
looked.
for a good role.
Yeah, I liked how she looked with that red hair. I think
she looked great.
I like fake red for hair. That's a
Yeah.
nice look.
I mean, there's no taking away from Amber Heard. I mean, she's gorgeous. She's a pretty solid actress, but like sometimes your personal. She's
Not in.
I said
not-
solid.
Not in this. Yeah, she's. If you want angry, you're good in the ward.
Yeah.
She does not have a wide range in the ward. I mean, that's fair, right?
Yes. So the Ward also stars Danielle Panabaker, who is probably best known for her role in the Flash TV series
Yeah.
as Caitlin Snow.
She seemed.
she was
really bad acting in this one.
This was, I feel like, fairly early.
It was.
For her.
It was. I like her. I really like her. She was
I
good
love
on
her.
the Flash, but she was terribly. She is not the character that they cast her for.
No, but she's been in a bunch of stuff. She was in Piranha 3 Double D. She was in The Crazies, bunch of TV. She was also one of the main girls in the Friday the 13th remake.
Oh shit! Yeah, I gotta watch that again just to see.
Yep, Sky High.
Yeah, I remember
she's been
her
a
in
bunch of
Sky
stuff.
High.
A lot of TV,
Yeah.
a lot of TV. But she's great, and she's awesome as Caitlin Snow in The Flash. I mean, she's perfect for that role.
Yeah, her acting ability is perfect for a comic book show. And I don't. That may sound like an insult, but it's not. I had no issue with her there. In this movie, though, I was like, "Get off the screen! You're just bad
Yeah,
at this."
we're gonna get to it in just a sec. Lorelei was in this also. She was in Under the Silver Lake and We're the Millers.
Oh.
Lindsay Fonseca, Kick Ass, Yes 2, Hot Tub Time Machine, and Mamie Goomer, who was also, I believe, in Side Effects, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay.
Yes, she was in Side Effects, and she was also in Ricky and the Flash.
Okay.
Okay, so there gives you that's your cast right there. Amber Heard is your lead. Everybody else is the bodies to prop her up.
Yeah.
So why are we taking so much time before we even start to talk about this movie? Because there's really not a lot to say about it.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
The Ward, obviously, it is a very simple story, which they try to make smart.
Yeah.
Amber Heard plays Kristen. She is a young woman who has been institutionalized because she burned down a barn. And they're trying to figure out what's going on with her, why she's doing what she's doing. Jared Harris, who is also the main male star in this, who was in obviously Chernobyl, The Crown, Mad Men. He's been in a million things.
This was before his Resident Evil movie.
Yep.
And before he got recognized as a really good actor.
Yes.
So
He is in an Apple TV show that Mel and I are watching right now that's like this sci-fi epic thing, Dune-esque.
Foundation.
Foundation,
is
yes.
that worth it? Because I was very leery. They've been trying to make it for so long.
Yeah, we are 3 or 4 episodes into the first season of the 2 seasons that are available, and it is dense and it is heavy, but I think it's done pretty well.
Okay.
They've done pretty well. I'm not super familiar with the books that it's based on, but I will say that one thing that Apple TV does, despite seemingly waste a shitload of money on shows that nobody watches.
I know, right?
They're like large sci-fi projects, whether it's Silo or Severance or I'm going to call Severance a sci-fi.
No, it
project.
absolutely is.
Everyone that I've watched, including I think the Monarchs Godzilla monster show.
Oh, I never finished that. Yeah, okay.
It's worth finishing.
I
It's worth
want
finishing.
to. But
You're probably not getting a second season, but
okay.
it still builds into that world. They put the time and effort and the money into those shows where some other people won't.
yeah.
So, but anyway,
Yeah.
so Jared Harris plays Dr. Gerald Stringer, who is her psychiatrist doctor. This is your classic 1950s mental institution setting where the patients are treated poorly. They're treated like commodities. Luckily, though, we did not get what you usually get in these, where you have the male orderly who is having sex with everyone.
Yeah, I was waiting for that.
Me too.
From the first frame.
Yep. But he's not actually, and
Yeah.
surprisingly enough, like they don't even really go there. They actually have Daniel Panabaker's character trying to seduce him, and he's like, "Yeah, I don't think so."
No, that was the most original thing. I like that. So you knew, yeah, sort of. You knew that at least that dude's honorable. He might be a jackass, but he's the right guy for the job, which is
Right.
rare.
Especially in this time period.
Yes, 1966.
66.
Yeah.
So, as Kristen is trying to figure out what's going on, she doesn't have strong memories of the things that happened. She remembers the fire, but she doesn't know how she got there or what happened before it. It's playing itself out also with the introduction in the film, where we have a girl in her locked room who's seemingly attacked by some sort of unseen spirit or force.
Yeah.
So there's this ghost element that is brought into this too, where we're seeing this ghostly presence that is essentially terrorizing, at first seemingly just Kristen, but also all of the other girls that are in the ward with her.
Right.
What is interesting is the size of this ward, and there only being, 4 or 5 patients in it.
Yep.
Which is, we're going to try, we're going to probably spoil this.
Yeah, I think that's
I think we have to, because in order to talk about it. So at this point on, if you haven't seen John Carpenter's The Board yet, and you can watch it on Tubi, watch it and then come back. At this point, I'm saying that the spoilers will be open. Probably won't get to them for a few minutes, but they are open in terms of like, we're not going to hold back from bringing up a twist.
Like,
and I will
honestly,
tell you, this film has a large twist in it. So to the surprise of nobody.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
so this presence is terrorizing all of the girls, and they're trying to figure out what's going on. And Kristen is just trying to escape and get out of there. And at first, the other girls are cold to her, but then they all kind of warm up with each other. And each character, whether it's Emily, Sarah, or Zoe, or Iris, they all have their sort of niche. They're all very specific stereotypes of certain types of people.
Yeah.
Iris is quiet and artistic and likes to draw. Zoe is stunted in her development and acts like a young child, even though she's very obviously like a teenager or of, later teen years.
All I'm going to say about that character is I turned to my wife and I said, now I know why they murdered Moaning Myrtle in Harry Potter, because she sounds exactly like her. And it's abrasive. That's the only way I can describe it.
Sarah, which is Daniel Panabaker's character, she is the rich hoity-toity character that doesn't think she should be there and thinks she's God's gift to everything and that she's better than everyone. And then Emily is the one that's just like pretty crazy.
Yeah.
And Kristen is your main glue that's supposed to hold it all together. And they do the thing that they always do, whereas they make it appear that she is super sane and she shouldn't be there, and that she's the, she's the victim here, type thing.
Yeah.
So the film plays itself out in very normal, very standard horror movie fashions of like, you get shots of the ghost, and one of the things that annoy me with the ghost is you see the ghost straight away. There's no like hiding anything. There's no suspense built. There's none of that stuff.
Yeah.
Which again, from a director like John Carpenter, is surprising, because The Thing, In the Mouth of Madness, Halloween, all films that are built on incredibly good suspense.
Yeah.
And there's just none of that in this.
No, maybe that was intentional. Like, look, this is just supposed to be a straight up drama about women in prison. I don't know what he was thinking going into it, so I don't know. But it's not. There's no subtlety. It is what it is, right on its face. It's not lying.
And one of the
you.
things, and one of the things that I know I talked about this when we talked about this movie a few years ago when it was released. I just still don't understand why this is the film after like 9-10 years that John Carpenter decided to come back and direct.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't make sense to me, because he didn't write it. It's not a property that he like had been like trying to get made or like.
Yeah.
It's just it doesn't make any sense. It doesn't feel like John Carpenter. Doesn't look like John Carpenter.
I mean,
he doesn't do the music in it.
It could be like contractual obligation. He still owed the studio one film, maybe.
Yeah, but this wasn't made through any major studio.
I forgot about that.
So it just
Never
doesn't
mind.
make sense. No, I get that's because that's what I looked at too. And then I remembered watching it and all the like production stuff at the beginning of it. There was no Universal. There was no. It was all these companies I hadn't heard of.
Maybe it was a favor.
Maybe.
I don't know.
I've never. I mean, I haven't dug that deep into it. But it
Yeah.
also says something. He hasn't directed something in terms of a feature since this.
Right.
He's worked on. He's produced some stuff, but like. So, Kristen Amber Heard's character, trying to figure out what's going on. She's telling the doctors there's a ghost. There's this, that. You know, she's telling the other girls, and the other girls don't see it at first, but then they do see it, and they know that they're being stalked by it. They start to get picked off one by one. There's some scenes where and here's the other thing is like it's supposed to be a ghost, but it has physical manifestation and can murder.
Yeah.
In like not like a Ring thing where like you open up the closet and the ghost like
Right.
scared them to death, or like no, this like.
No, it's like
Ghost, like-
Scooby-Doo. It feels like old man McMurtry's got the end of the mask.
That's a really Scooby Doo, perfect, thank you.
Yeah.
So she starts picking them off and basically stabbing them through the eyeball and taking their brains out,
Yeah.
right?
That's sure.
So multiple times where Kristen's character attempts to escape and gets caught. Multiple times where she goes back to the doctor, and then it's down to like just her, like everyone else has been killed or whatever. And she meets up with the doctor in the process of trying to escape, and the doctor's like, "Listen, no, you've got it all wrong." And in like that fucking cop out, here comes the twist again. Last warning.
Yeah.
I knew when I watched this the first time, I'm like, okay, well, she did this. Like, this is like, she's killed all these people. She's done all these things, and the ghost is a manifestation of her, which is correct.
Yeah.
But this fucking film takes it one step further, where boom, it's all in your head.
Yeah.
And that Dallas Bobby in the shower moment of like, none of this actually happened.
Yeah.
You're just crazy.
Yeah, not a fan. Not a
Nope,
fan.
me
of that.
either.
This is the worst elements of 28 Days, Sucker Punch, and I had something else there. What was it? Oh,
not sure where you're going
Session
with it.
9. That's what
Okay,
it is. It's the worst parts of those three movies. Because it's
Yeah.
all the boring shit.
Yeah. That twist, though, like, I mean, I knew something was like, and I'm obviously I'd seen it before, so like, but I didn't remember a lot about it.
Yeah, well.
because it's so mediocre.
Yeah.
It's not even. I can't even say that it's bad.
Right.
It's just so mediocre, which I think is in some ways worse than being a really bad film.
Yeah, I mean, you could quantify that with, if this was from an unknown director, it looks great, blah, blah, blah. But we've seen what he can do. So yes, mediocre is fine.
But it's like the weakest fine.
yeah, because it's well made. It looks good. They had
It's
a great
shot well.
location.
Yeah, no, I mean, like, it's shot well. It looks good.
Yeah.
It's just the thing that's frustrating is because you have such a big name, well-known, really good director directing it, and it just all feels so mailed in.
Yeah.
It all like, I mean, one of my favorite things about Carpenter's films, outside of the suspense that he was able to build in them, and even in something like a comedy like Big Trouble in Little China, he built some great suspense in those movies. Like when you see the lightning, the trio, the lightning guy, and what are they called? Three of them?
The Three Storms.
The Three Storms.
Yep.
The lightning guy.
No, whatever. That's fine.
You see, like he builds suspense to seeing them the first time.
Yeah, because they
And
stand
in this,
there.
there's no suspense
No.
anywhere.
No, yeah, you're right. You're right.
Even in the reveal, when they do the reveal of you have multiple personality disorder and you're killing off your own personalities because you want to take control back. Like, there's not even like
Yeah.
there isn't even suspense there. You are also the ghost. There is no Anna. Your name is Anna.
Yeah. When that happened, I turned to Rip because she's writing plays and she likes to write stories, and I said, "Do you see what's happening right here?" I said, "Do you see this giant info dump don't do this. This is awful. No one likes this. I said, there are better ways to reveal this than having someone tell someone else. At least start him talking on it, right? And then switch to her imagination going through it happening. You know, you see them really doing the things. So then you don't have an info dump. It can be a thing that you're seeing. But we should have got pieces of it as it went along. And I don't feel like that happened. Whatever. I mean, this movie is not worth getting mad about. I know that.
No. I'm going to actually one-up you on your trio of movies.
Yeah, go ahead.
That you said. It's Shutter Island.
Okay.
Identity. And what was the other one? I stole one of these from somebody else. Oh, and Sucker Punch, I agree.
Yeah.
Sucker Punch, Identity, and Shutter Island.
Okay.
The worst parts of all those movies. 3. I know Sucker Punch we like, but we're not like as hot on it as we were when we first saw it.
Oh, it's garbage, but it's fun to look at.
It's fun to, visually. But Shutter Island is obviously excellent. And Identity, I feel, is very good, too. Who directed Identity? That's not Nolan, is it?
Oh, shit, and I saw that, too. I want to say it is, but I don't know. I'm so hot, my brain's fried.
I forget. Either way, but, yeah. All right, let's just grade it.
Yeah.
All right, Chris, do you recommend, what is your grade for for John Carpenter's The Ward?
Yeah, no, I do not recommend this. It may affect your opinion of him. So don't watch it.
Fair.
That sounds mean, and it may be mean, but seriously, like, watch the one with Chevy Chase in it instead that Carpenter did. And I hate Chevy Chase. So to be recommending that is a huge thing. But yeah, no, this is a D-. This is boring. And I don't feel like he pushed his actors to act. They just delivered lines, and it seemed like, okay, well, that's fine.
Not even good lines because it's not written well.
I turned to my wife, and I said at one point, I'm like, who the fuck wrote this dialogue? Snapple Caps? Because like, it's like one sentence or 2 sentences, and it's like some mumbo-jumbo pseudo-Yoda wisdom shit, and it's like none of it made sense. Like the Sphinx in Mystery Men. In order to defeat yourself, you must... yourself defeat. What? So yeah, that aggravated me a lot as well.
Fair.
Not cool. So yeah, D-. I'm not talking about
D-.
this anymore.
Okay. Fair. So I appreciate Carpenter coming back to direct something, and that's something at the time I was like, great, cool. Yeah. Carpenter's going to do a feature, and was like, oh, Amber Heard, you know. Again, we were hot on Amber Heard then, and I'm like, all right, this sounds a mental institution. Yeah, this is win-win.
Yeah.
So expectations were there, and then I remember watching it and just being like, what is this?
Yep.
Like, where? Like, it's written poorly. The music is fine, whatever. It's shot decent. It looks good.
Yeah.
But like, the acting is just subpar.
Yes.
Like.
Yes.
As you said earlier when we first started talking about, Amber Heard only has one mood, and it's disgruntled.
Yeah. Yeah, she's...
Not even angry, just disgruntled.
Yeah. The one actress who I didn't recognize, whose facial features looked smaller than they needed to be on her face, the one with the straight blonde hair. I have now forgotten everybody's name on purpose.
There.
She had a more nuanced performance than anyone else in that film. She did a great job.
And that's the thing, too. When you're doing characters that are locked up in a mental asylum, you got to have nuance in those characters.
Yeah.
But they have to have, like, not necessarily big personalities, but, like, you have to be able to, like, figure out what's going on with them.
Yeah.
And they're just so stereotyped in this because the writing is so poor.
Yeah. And
so I'm not recommending it.
Yeah, they jumped around, too, like, with how they were acting. Like, 1 minute, the blonde one is mad with Amber, and then it's the dark-haired one is mad with her, but acting the same way as the other one. It's like they mixed up their lines.
There's a whole lot of, don't pay attention to her. She's crazy.
Yeah.
Oh, we don't like to use that word here. Okay.
I don't care.
So no, I am not recommending it. I'm not going to go as far as used to say it'll change your opinion of.
I'm just for some
Carpenter.
people it will. I just don't. If that's you,
No, I get that. Like if you're not super familiar with John Carpenter and all you've seen is say Halloween, yeah, no, steer very clear.
Yeah.
If you're a completist and you got to see it, then yeah, check it out. But like, know that it's not good. Like I say that Ghosts of Mars is better than this. Like at least that has some like crazy ridiculous action in it.
It's
and
definitely more fun.
Yeah, this is just not. Yeah, this is just not fun. And Amber Heard is just so unlikable. And
Yeah.
even when they make the attempt to redeem her character and let you know why she's in the asylum and how she was held captive and like tortured and all this stuff, and then she burned down the place and they put her in the mental asylum. Like when you get that dump of like, here's why you feel bad for her, but I'm like, I don't feel bad because she's just an awful character through the whole film.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden then it's like she's okay.
Yeah.
And she's gonna go home.
Yeah.
And then okay, all right.
Oh shit. You know which one we forgot to add to the
What?
ripoff of? This is 100% One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest inspired.
Made into a horror story.
Yeah, one pooped on the cuckoo's nest is what we have here.
One catched in on the cuckoo's nest.
Yeah, because like they get them all together, they meet, and then they have a dance party, and it's the kind of scene that happens in Cuckoo's Nest where they're on the ship and they're fishing and they're out for a day, and you feel something for them. You're like,
Yeah.
I know they're gonna get fucked in the end, but they are having fun right now, and they're not hurting anybody. They're just having a great experience because you've seen how they are. We didn't have any of that with them. It's just all of a sudden they start dancing, and I'm like, I don't give a shit. Also, where were all the fucking workers? Like, they're sneaking all over this goddamn place, and no one's they're in the kitchen, they're in offices.
Yeah.
What the fuck?
Well, it's definitely one of those films where when you get the twist and the explanation of everything, if you start to think about it, the whole fucking thing falls apart. Because they can use the excuse of, well, that happened in her head.
Yeah.
Well, did all of it happen in her head? Is she in bed the whole time when all this stuff was happening? Or like
Right.
it just falls apart. So I'm also giving it a D-. It's not good. It's sad to see Carpenter's name attached to it to the point where it's called John Carpenter's The Ward.
Yeah.
So because they were like, shit, this isn't very good.
No,
Let's
we
just
got
put
to
his name
sell
on it.
Yeah. I
Let's
mean,
put his name on it.
everybody that listens should know if you see Quentin Tarantino presents, Eli Roth presents, be skeptical. Don't take it as they approve this. They may just look at it and say, this is going to make money. I want my name on it. And
Or
that's
hey,
what
we're
they
going to
did.
give you money if you put your name on it.
Yeah, they wanted his name on it, so that's what they did.
I'm sure he got paid extra for it. So there's The Ward. Tread lightly.
Yeah.
Tread lightly.
Yeah.
Speaking of treading lightly, here is the trailer for 1978's Death Dimension.
Freeze Bomb. Breaking the ice with a new science action film. They stole the bomb that can freeze you alive. Starring George 007 Lazenby as Detective Captain Gallagher. Drop it! Harold Oddjob Sakata as the Dirty Pig.
Talk! Tell me now! One bite and he'll make you flat-chested.
And Jim Enter the Dragon Kelly as Deadly Detective Lieutenant Kelly. Freeze Bomb with Aldo Ray, Terry Moore, and the sensational new Patch McKenzie as the agent Felicia. Also featuring martial arts master Myron Bruce Lee. The best. Filmed on location where they actually work and play. See the sensuous ladies of the Mustang Ranch. Meet the real girls at the world's most infamous den of iniquity.
Hi, I'm Elaine. Rosemary.
Hi, my name is Dawn. I'm Egypt.
Gail. Christine.
Rusty.
High adventure all the way.
Freeze! Freeze!
Freeze Bomb, the one film James Bond himself would go to see.
Why? So he can feel better about himself?
Yeah, apparently, man. Death Dimension, aka Freeze Bomb. I made sure to watch The Ward first.
Oh, yeah.
So
I
that
did
when
too.
I was going into Death Dimension, that I was going to be, and I've seen Death Dimension. This is, I think, the fourth, maybe fifth time I've watched this movie.
Okay.
You guys know, Chris especially know, I'm a sucker for Jim Kelly.
Oh, yeah.
Love Jim Kelly. 3 the Hard Way,
Yep.
unbelievable. Like, this is not as good as that, but this is definitely one of those martial arts / spy / police / action films that takes all of that stuff together and puts it in and whips it up. Who can we hire that's been in other films to use? And they get George Lazenby, who had his one film as 007 and will forever be able to use that on his resume.
Yeah.
The guy that played Odd Job in the Bond flicks. And then Jim Kelly coming off of Enter the Dragon. I do like that they pumped up Myron Bruce Lee, and this is the only thing he's ever been in.
Yeah. I mean, that was part of the whole big Bruce Lee craze to get people on the screen that looked Asian, because we're all assholes and don't know what Bruce Lee looks like compared to another Chinese guy.
Right.
Come on.
Right. So the story goes as this. You have Harold Sakata plays the pig. He's a well-known, well-despised master of crime. He has hired a very smart scientific doctor to create a bomb. A freeze bomb, if you will.
Yeah.
It will freeze people when it explodes.
Yeah.
And we know this because they run a test on 4 guys they found in the basement of a VFW.
Why not?
Dude, this is what this movie is. It's just ridiculous at all points. These 4 guys are just like tied up to this like stake in the ground, and they literally look like 4 guys that were drunk, passed out in the bar at like the fucking Lansdowne pub or like one of those fucking hole in the wall like bars or whatever.
Yep.
They freeze them, and you know they freeze them because they throw a bunch of fake snow in front of the camera, and they all go, oh, and they hold still.
Yeah.
But the doctor says this science I have created was not meant for it to be weaponized.
Then why did he make it into a weapon?
To not be weaponized, it was to help drought and food. Okay. So he then implants a microdisc into his assistant's temple, which we see in graphic detail at the beginning.
And it took so fucking long to do it.
So long.
Like, there's no hairnet, there's no safety precautions. Like, he's an actual doctor. And he cut
She's
this
not
woman
even numbed
open.
up, dude. It's in his like office.
Yeah.
Like
in his
not even
basement office.
Surgery room or anything. Operating room is the term I would like to use, probably. And then he takes drugs to kill himself, and he has smuggled her out to get the information out, and he's trying to get the information to a general in the army. Now, I'll say this. Listen, you didn't want this weaponized. Probably don't give it to the army.
I mean, yeah, that's what I was thinking. I wasn't sure I was right, though. I want to wait to see if you said it.
1978, though, maybe it's a different time. I mean, now it's like, oh, you've got something we can turn into a weapon? Let's weaponize it.
It's always been that. Oh,
Always
is that stuff meant to kill weeds? No.
Guess what else it's going to kill?
We're going to take that over to Vietnam. Now shut up.
So, with the murder of the doctor, not the murder, but like the doctor dies, and for some reason, somehow the LA Police Department gets the case. Because it's the LA Police Department, but yet we know that the pig operates out of Reno, Nevada.
Yeah.
And the doctor, none of it if you start to pull at the threads, none of it makes any sense. So just don't. All right.
Well,
That Jim Kelly's going to come and he's going to kick people.
The one thread that I almost pulled at that I just had to let go because it was going to break the whole movie for me. Fake Bruce Lee and Black Belt Jones have a fight at the house at the pool, and when they cut to the next scene, they're pulling up to a dock in a boat. What the fuck? What was it? When did they get? Wait, if the pig is in Reno, what ocean are they on?
It's a lake.
Yeah.
So they show up to his house and beat up a bunch of the guys, kick them all in the nuts, and then they're like, "Where's the pig?" And they're like, "He's at the lake house."
Oh.
Then they're in a boat going to the lake house.
Oh, that's fair.
A boat, by the way, which they ride up to the dock. There's another boat there. They ride up to the dock. They just jump out of their boat. They don't tie it down or anything, and they just run inside and try to fight everybody. And then a couple of the guys get away and get into their boat. The Jim Kelly boat is not there at the time.
No, why would it be?
They fly off in their boat, and then the two guys, Myron Lee and Jim Kelly, run out and jump into their boat, which wasn't there a second ago, also was not tied down or moored to anything.
Yeah.
And they just jump in and they just take off after these guys.
Yeah. Back then, I think that continuity directors or editors were just like, nobody's going to notice that shit. No, we do. We always do.
There are so many things in this movie that are fucking utterly hilarious. Like, the decisions that are made are just crazy. I'm looking at my notes here, and just like the Haitian guy. Like, he's got a big scar on his face, and he's got a razor blade ring, and like he's just a badass or whatever. But like, Jim Kelly gives this explanation as to like what he does to George Lazenby, the sergeant or whatever. And he's like, oh, well, this is Haitian in origin. And he gives like 50 reasons, none of them related to why they would be Haitian. And the writing is great because Lazenby's like, yeah, but why is he Haitian?
Well, he's the voice of the audience.
Right. He's like, I'm real frustrated, man. Tell me why he's Haitian. He's like, oh, well, the ring that he uses, there's a specific cult in Haiti that uses. He's like, why didn't you start with that? Like,
yeah.
And then, Odd Job, or the pig, we get a number of scenes where he's holding a turtle and like feeding a turtle grapes and stuff. And then, so we didn't really mention the assistant, whatever her name was. She eventually gets caught by the pig and they're trying to get her to talk. Yeah. So in all these scenes earlier in the film, he's holding this little turtle. It's like a painted turtle or whatever, like type of turtle you would have as a pet.
Right.
So then he's like, well, if you're not he's going to torture this girl and get her to talk. He's like, well, if you're not going to talk, I'm going to make you talk. And she's like, oh, well, how are you going to make me talk? And he brings in this turtle. Now, again, there might have been another turtle, but it's a completely different turtle than the one he was using earlier on because it's a really angry looking snapper turtle.
Yeah.
And at no point has it been like discussed or anything. The character's name is the pig, not the snapper, not the turtle or anything like that. That he has like this multitude of turtles.
Yeah. Yeah, because, pigs collect turtles. Don't you know that?
Yeah, obviously. Makes complete sense, man. So he holds the turtle up by its tail, and obviously it's a snapper turtle, so it is very angry.
Oh, yeah. It's definitely, I love snapping turtles. They're so angry looking. They got points everywhere. It's like new designed Gamera, which is really nice.
They look like a dinosaur. Like,
yeah. Yeah. And like, yeah, go ahead. No.
So he holds this turtle up and he's like, listen, if you don't tell me, I'm doing the accent because this is exactly what he sounds like.
Oh, there's a reason. Go ahead.
Okay.
Yeah.
If you don't talk, this turtle is going to bite off your tit.
Yeah.
And you'll be flat-chested. How do you like that?
Yeah.
And she just looks at him. And just like, even in the moment, you can tell she's like, I knew that was the line that was coming. But I have to stop for a sec and then just keep from laughing.
Yeah.
And then just go, oh no.
Yeah.
How would you like to be flat-chested? Like, what is happening here?
Okay, so he was dubbed, obviously.
Yep.
by James.
Not all of his lines.
By James Hong. That's why he sounds like that. It's proto-Lopan. Because you can hear it here and there. Because I'm watching it, I'm like, that sounds like James Hong. The way he emphasized those words, girl, like I know that's his voice. But it was 78, so he was a lot younger than I had first. And I went through all the cast. I searched his name and then I scrolled through just in case, right? And nothing. And then I go to trivia. It's the first fucking line.
Nice.
In the trivia. So this is why this movie's not going to get an F.
Fair.
And Jim Kelly.
Jim Kelly's the man. Kelly's the man. And I mean, the story, you forget the story.
It's
like, just forget it, man. It's just gonna get a freeze bomb. Get out of here.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it just has all these moments that make it like an exploitation, like thrill ride, I guess, or fun ride, however you want to call it, whatever.
Yeah,
But
there were
like,
a lot more fights than in normal movies.
Because there's a point where like they're like, all right, we've done about 5 minutes of story. Jim Kelly, grab these nunchucks.
Mm-hmm.
Just fuck all these dudes up. He's like, all right, no problem, boss. Like,
yeah. How are we
and then
going to end
Myron
this
Lee
fight?
comes in.
Kick each one of them in the nuts 15 times, but one after another, not like the same guy. Do boom, boom, left, right. Just keep kicking them all in the nuts. They'll allow it. The fight scenes in this, no offense to anybody in the film, but they were not up to Black Belt Jones levels of fighting.
Or even, was it Black Samurai? Even not even.
Or Petey Wheatstraw.
I don't know about that.
It wasn't that bad, but there were some scenes that were that bad.
I was using actual just Jim Kelly movies.
Oh yeah, no, I'm going way off here.
It's fair. But this film, it's exploitation sleaze.
Yeah.
And like that whole moment where they go into the brothel, and I remember reading that it was, an actual brothel in Nevada. And like the big difference like in this as opposed to like the trashy Italian stuff that we watch, like they do like the girl thing and they name all the girls. And I'm like, and I apologize. And I know a lot of this has to do with the timing, but I'm like, these girls are all real busted.
Well, because they were real. There's no Hollywood magic, right? I turn to my wife and
the girl that he picks is significantly better looking than the rest of them, and she's the one actress in the lineup.
Yeah. I did apologize to my wife for getting syphilis by looking at those people.
Oh man, they were like these girls were rough. They were rough.
They were actual sex workers that didn't belong on camera this way. So. That in itself was exploitation as well.
Well, yeah, you watch, and going back to the Italian trash that we watch, the women are always so gorgeous, and they all are like picturesque, and they're like, these women were just hard as fuck, and like, I was like, wow, okay.
Because ugly people in movies that we watch are still very pretty in real life.
Yeah.
But these girls were
way better looking women than they actually were presented as.
Yeah. Yeah, the lighting did not do them any favors.
No.
They look blotchy, and it's like they tried to. Maybe they did make them look worse. Who knows?
I guess. I don't know. But anyway, it all ends up being fine. Jim Kelly shoots down a plane with a revolver that he's never reloaded, which is pretty awesome. There's these great.
Yeah. Stupid
There's
and
these
awesome.
great scenes. Yeah, still great scenes where Jim Kelly's in a helicopter and the pig and one of his henchmen are in a one of those trolleys that goes up the mountain.
Oh yeah,
I can't think of what they're called, but they're having a shootout back and forth. They must shoot 100 bullets. Nobody reloads once, and they're all holding 6-shooter revolvers.
Of course.
And they must fire. Yeah, they must fire 100 bullets. Nobody hits anything in those 100 shots. There's no close calls of like, whoa, or
no,
like,
it's G.I. Joe rules.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. But then as like the pig gets into a plane to get away, Jim Kelly again has not reloaded his gun. There is a point where the pig's gun runs out of bullets. He doesn't reload it; he just throws it. But then Jim Kelly just shoots the plane down with his little revolver. And it's the end of the movie.
McBain style. Yeah.
No, not even McBain style. McBain does it through the window of the cockpit.
That's true.
Jim Kelly does it from the ground shooting up.
Yeah. Well, he's awesome. So.
Jim
There you
Kelly
go.
is awesome.
Yeah,
Jim Kelly
I'm
is
not
awesome.
making fun of him. I like him.
Christopher, do you recommend and what is your grade for Death Dimension, aka Freeze Bomb?
Okay, sort of. I sort of recommend this. I know it's bad. It's probably the worst blaxploitation movie I've seen, just from enjoyment alone. Anytime you're watching a movie that's just absolutely ridiculous, and you think, or your kid says, "Why is there a plane all of a sudden involved?" I said, "Well, a lot of people had pilot's licenses. They're probably near an airport. It's probably cheap, and it adds an element of danger that, do you want to see the list of these movies that have airplanes at the end? Because I could show you 4 with Sid Haig flying them.
Yep. Yep, that's
And
true.
that's it. It was just to up it just a little bit more. And it probably is the same plane from fucking Coffee and all those other ones. So, if you go into this in the right frame of mind, and the right frame of mind is nobody tried, not the writer, on down or up, whichever way you want to go. This was just made. This felt like an obligation in a way. But I didn't hate it because Jim Kelly is fun to watch, and I like James Hong's voice. And that may be the earliest thing I've heard him in, so that's nice. Because that guy's like 95 years old, and he's not going to be around much longer, so I'm going to hype him up for as long as I can. But still, this is a C-, maybe a D+. Yeah, D+. Yeah. It was disappointing.
See,
But it wasn't as bad as I thought. I will watch this again probably this week, but it's not good.
Yeah, no, overall, I'm giving it a recommend. Because I love this stuff. And this is good time exploitation sleaze that doesn't take itself too seriously at any point. And that's why I think it works better than so many others. Because, like you said, nobody really cared. They all came in, they had fun. I'm sure they're like, well, hey, we got George Lazenby and we got Odd Job.
Yeah.
So let's fucking do something with this. And to the point even where Odd Job at a point, he's wearing the hat in the car. Like, he's wearing the Odd Job hat, and it's not the character in this movie.
Yeah.
But he's still sitting there with the hat with the blade in it, and it's like, oh, okay, I see what you're doing there.
Yep. Yep.
And Jim Kelly is always a good time, even in his weakest roles. Like, you can take his parts out, because he's a great martial artist. He looks awesome on film, and he's just got a really good personality that always seems to come through in his roles.
Yeah.
Because he can play that hard-ass blaxploitation role, but he can also kind of be funny when he needs to be. And, he's just really good, and I always am happy to see him.
Yeah.
And I think the supporting cast in this did what they were supposed to do, and this was a showcase for some action scenes, and they're like, hey, we got a plane. Let's use the plane. Oh, we got a helicopter. Let's use the helicopter.
Yep.
And it's just like, if you can take that element of just kind of watching it for the sleaze and the fun that it is, you can really enjoy it, because those lines, like he's going to bite off your tit, like that's fucking hilarious.
I did turn to everybody and say, all right, if you threatened me with a snapping turtle biting me anywhere in a soft part of my body, I would fucking talk right away.
Yeah,
You could
because he's
you could shove things under my fingernails, that's fine. But nipples, no.
we'll have to cut off his head for him to let go.
Yeah. Oh. I'm like, please don't bite her. Don't. I don't want
I
this
was so
to
worried.
happen.
And the best part, though, is they're torturing her and she passes out. And they're like,
there's
oh,
always
I'm not
that
strong
danger.
enough to handle it, I see.
Yeah, so like, how do you torture somebody that passes out?
Right. So they just wait.
Yeah.
They just wait for her to wake up.
And she is the dumbest motherfucker in this
Oh,
movie
she's
out
so-
of a
yeah,
movie full of
she's-
dumb
yeah.
people.
She knows everyone's trying. Okay, anyway. C-,
yeah,
I
we're
think it's a
done
very fair grade for this. I think it's a very fair grade because it's not good, but
No.
it is fun. And if you look at it in the right way and you don't judge it harshly, you can have a really good time with this movie. And it's
Yeah.
available to watch on, it's on Tubi, isn't it? Is that where I watched it, on Tubi?
I watched mine on YouTube. But
Okay.
probably, yeah.
So there you have it. Death Dimension.
I'll look it up now.
I'm pretty sure I watched it on Tubi.
We got Prime and there, and let me see. Click this button. Plex, Prime, and Fandango at home. So maybe Plex?
I think I swear I watched it on Tubi.
But I know I watched it on fucking whatever I just said. YouTube.
All right, well, it's out there. It's out there. You'll find it. Speaking of being out there, I think this is the final week of Joe's Conjuring universe. So let's see what he has to say about it. I think it's The Nun 2, if I'm not mistaken.
Well, hello, Bill. Hello, Chris. And hello, OTC Nation. It's your boy Joe here, and this week Bill took me back to Europe in the 50s. Which seemed like a cool place, minus the demons. He made me watch The Nun 2. Are you ready for a bad joke? Of course you are.
Yeah.
How many more Conjuring movies do you think I want to watch? None.
Yeah.
But at the risk of sounding like hyperbole, because I know that the OG Nun movie did big business here and in countries with a decent population of Catholics around the world, but who the fuck asked for this? Not who asked for a Nun sequel. The box office receipts did that. What I mean is, who the fuck asked for a sequel that mimics the plot of the first, but without any of the feeling of reverence for the lore? Who the fuck asked for a version of The Nun that feels more like Agnes of God than The Exorcist? I've seen more violent Hallmark Christmas movies than this love letter to PG-13 horror. I've seen more blood in the Allstate Mayhem Guy commercials.
Yeah, that's fair.
I've been more scared by a bee hovering around in my garage while I'm trying to build a shitty-looking but functional raised garden bed.
Yeah, because you don't know what that motherfucker's going to do.
In looking up these movies to watch, I noticed that most of the streaming services have a baker's dozen straight-to-streaming mimics a piece, and I'm willing to bet that there's at least a few of them that are better than this nearly 2-hour nap maker. I haven't seen The Bad Nun, Bloody Nun, Last Rites, A Nun's Curse, Conjuring the Devil, Curse of the Nun, Awakening the Nun, or, I shit you not, Nun Dead. Nun Dead.
So
I bet
stupid.
one of them would have held my attention better, had more than 2 or 3 kills, and just been a more entertaining experience than The Nun 2. Probably would have saved me half an hour, too, since this cinematic anesthesia is just a hair shy of 2 painful hours. So, Sister Irene decided to stay in Europe after the events of the last movie. Personally, if I went through that, I'd have requested a transfer from Romania to, I don't know, fucking New Hampshire.
I mean, I'd quit.
Seems nice there.
Just leave.
Valak is back on his bullshit. I'm sorry, it's bullshit. And the Vatican sends her,
Hey, shut up.
that is Sister Irene, by herself to deal with it. So instead of telling the cardinal to fist his own asshole, throwing her habit in the face of his clearly evil right-hand man, and going to be like an accountant in some place that's not Gothic,
Yeah.
I don't know, Lexington, Kentucky?
Sure.
Like, she's like, all right, Father, I'll fight the demon with all 115 pounds of me and my faith in our big superhero stepdaddy in the sky, who conveniently never seems to show up to help.
No, he's not very helpful
It's
at
like
all.
when Ted Theodore
Not at all.
Logan and Bill S. Preston Esquire had to fight their way through hell and meet Station to save rock and roll a second time when the council could have easily handled it themselves. It should be noted that Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey is a demonstrably better film than The Nun 2.
Oh, I love that one.
Or maybe The Replacements, because the Vatican could easily pay a team of well-trained, seasoned exorcists to do this job. And, I mean, yeah, those guys are like prima donna douchebags, but you have the money.
Yeah,
Instead,
they certainly
they
do.
sent a young woman with more heart than all those guys combined, who admittedly isn't played by Keanu Reeves, though that would have made this movie dynamically more interesting, despite how charming Thaisa Farmiga is, who literally took a vow of poverty, LOL, and she's in this for the love of the game. I don't know, maybe Reese Ifans and the guy who played Jenna Fisher's boyfriend in the first season of The Office, the deaf guy, maybe he can help out. It should be noted, The Replacements is in every way a better film than The Nun 2. And then there's the scene where they use a stained glass window to project a beam of light to show her where a pair of eyeballs from a saint is or are. And it's not a metaphor for like two spherical objects. It's this bitch's eyeballs.
Oh.
Like eyeballs wouldn't decompose into nothing in a couple of weeks. Not to mention after being buried under a paving brick for a few hundred years. Just like Indiana Jones finding another less biodegradable Christian artifact. Raiders of the Lost Ark is... Do I need to say it?
No.
Hey, Chris?
What?
Do you want to take this one?
No, you do it. Ruining
All
the
right,
bit.
I'm assuming that you said something along the lines of Raiders of the Lost Ark is a demonstrably better film than The Nun 2.
I mean, did I have to?
For all intents and purposes, the Conjuring universe, I guess, is the Nickelback of modern horror franchises. Like, it's not even close to the worst example of the form, but it represents it. The Conjuring is the badge that modern horror wears on its chest, and while it rakes in all the money, it also fields, in my opinion, all the blame. And while Nickelback was ruling the charts, a dozen much, much, much better bands got moved over to the side stage so that Chad Kroeger could wheeze sing about a photograph or something. Just like while at the same time, people probably were drooling for the next installment of their favorite, very not subtle Christian scare films masquerading as mainstream horror, at least a dozen better horror films got less attention just because these existed. And, you know, those movies had to be promoted by word of mouth and the dedication of better fans / probably people. Now, there's a metaphor, there's a political metaphor in there somewhere.
100%.
Like, we will always have to fight these feckless dick cheese pricks for anything that actually means anything. I guess if I'm optimistic, that just means it makes it mean more in the long run.
I call them Mewling Quinn.
Apologies for not landing on a joke. Here's the thing. The good. Europe is pretty, and so is Thaisa Farmiga.
That's fair.
The bad. I mean...
Everything else.
I kind of spent the entirety of this review on that. The worst sin this movie committed is being boring. Yeah. And there will be no forgiveness for that. The Nun 2 gets a D. The Conjuring universe as a whole gets a C-. Maybe it would get a C on a day where I didn't just watch this bullshit, but, you know, I guess we'll never know. That felt like it took forever. So, Bill, what's next?
Has he done the Insidious films?
I don't think so.
All right. If that's, we can choose something else, but Insidious would, I'd say, be good.
All right. You heard the man, OTC Nation. I'll be back with that next week. Whatever it was, hopefully it doesn't suck as bad as this did. Until then, be good, everyone.
I just feel like after coming off The Conjuring, I feel like Insidious is kind of like that other franchise.
Yeah, it's a little less safe. Not much, but it's a little less safe than The Nun, that mainstream sanitized horror.
Right.
A little bit. A little.
We've also had Joe do so many series now. I can't even remember what he's done and what he hasn't done. So
yeah,
we'll try Insidious. And Joe, for some reason you have done that, and I'm just completely drawing a blank. Let me know. But either way, all right, here we go. Reverend Scott's back, like he is every week.
Yeah.
Keep podcasters that don't get brand deals alive.
Yeah.
So,
and sorry about that.
No, I mean, yeah, we tried the brand deal thing, and it's just
no. I mean, it's probably my fault why they don't call. So
no, I don't think it's your fault at all. I know it's your fault.
No, that's
okay. Fair point.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
Holy shit.
Yeah. With Reverend Scott.
I'm never going to know everything.
Hopefully not.
Yeah. No, I like that. That's a good
Hey there, Bill and Chris. This is Reverend Scott.
For once, you are 100% correct.
And welcome to the episode after the special episode. And here on the episode after the special episode, we can do anything we want.
Who fucking cares?
No one really cares. So I guess that means I can review a film that, when I heard it was coming out, I too was like, who fucking cares?
I don't see an issue with your logic.
Well, neither do I.
It's not that funny. Just like 28 Years Later, the direct sequel to 28 Days Later. What happened to 28 Weeks Later, you might ask? Well, they didn't like how that movie ended up regarding continuing the story, so they just ignored it and made this story.
And rather than rewrite it and be like, okay, that doesn't make any sense, we'll just reset.
And as far as the story goes, long after Europe was decimated by the rage virus, the British Isles have been quarantined for the rest of time. They basically waited for the infected to starve and die off, but somehow that never happened. So they basically just said fuck it and told people to stop going there. For the most part, they have. However, there's one community on a remotely small island called Lindisfarne, right next to the mainland, completely surrounded by water, except for a strip of land that connects them, but only for a few hours when the tide is low enough. It's a pretty realistic and convincing setting, to be honest. It feels pretty lived in, and as well as like functional and self-sustaining. The kind of community that's cut off from the outside world but doesn't seem to care. We join our not hero, Craven the Hunter, who is back again to cause problems yet again for another movie family. He has a wife who is bedridden with something ailing her mind, and he has a son. This is primarily the story of Craven's 12-year-old son named Spike, unfortunately for him. Once you, quote-unquote, become a man, your rite of passage is to visit the mainland with a bow and arrow and kill a not zombie, and get back alive to celebrate it. Even though Spike is still a bit young, Craven is confident that he's ready. I get the feeling everyone else was questioning it, but, you know, Craven's his dad, so if he wants to take a 12-year-old into a life or death situation for no reason, I guess he's gonna do it.
He has to be in charge. No, not really, because he's a fucking maniac. Like, take that into consideration.
So they set off on a journey of manhood. Craven and Spike start to explore the mainland, seeing a fire off in the far distance. Spike wants to check it out, but Craven says that's a doctor that used to live with us, and he's kind of lost his marbles, and now he just stays alone, like killing people or something. I don't know. You don't want to see him. And you kind of get the feeling that Spike is thinking,
okay, I'll wait and go back to it.
Fair enough.
Anywho, they encounter a few types of not zombies, such as the emaciated fast ones and the slow-crawling, worm-eating, extremely fat ones, which I'm not sure how that works exactly, and a new and improved type of smarter, bigger, stronger ones called alphas. They seem to have been mutated by the rage virus like steroids that not only gives you bigger stature, muscles, and resistance to physical damage, but also a bigger brain and, more importantly, a much bigger penis. So really, it doesn't sound that bad overall.
I wouldn't mind that.
Spike gets his first kill, and when the alpha starts chasing them, even Craven the Hunter is no match for this behemoth. They hide in a cottage that they saw earlier, but a stampede of deer that they saw earlier, somehow that hasn't been eaten by the infected yet, rumbles by, causing the cottage to collapse. It's pretty shoddy workmanship if you ask me. I don't know how it ever passed code. But it's a pretty impressive set, if it is one at all. Hell, it might have just been a real old shitty cottage that really collapsed. Regardless, they barely escaped to the waterway at low tide, with the alpha chasing them down yet again. Luckily, the guards at the island finally kill that giant asshole with a big-ass crossbow thing, and they make it back alive. So what do you do after narrowly escaping death? You party, of course. They celebrate Spike becoming a 12-year-old man and drink and dance and, you know, all that shit. And Craven decides that drinking isn't quite enough celebrating, so he runs off with the local whore that definitely isn't his bedridden wife and sneaks off to become a man in a different way, if you know what I'm saying, and I think you do. Of course, Spike sees this and he's pissed.
Holy shit. The look on his face.
He decides, fuck Craven the dad, he's a man now, and he can take his mom with him back to that mainland and find that doctor and get her all fixed up. Craven doesn't want him to, but Spike's like,
nope, fuck you, we're gonna go and do what we want to do anyway.
So here's where I really started to enjoy this movie. The scenes with the mother and son fighting not zombies, looking out for each other, even encountering some Swedish soldiers that, I don't know, they're still alive and they got guns for some reason. It's pretty well done and emotional in parts. And despite Spike's dad telling him that that doctor is nuts, it's still a doctor. And who knows, maybe he can help his mom.
I got that feeling of a more like, well, let's just fucking try it.
On their way to the giant fire, they go through some train cars and come across an infected that's pregnant, which begs the question, how did that fucking happen?
Exactly.
Is that why the alphas have big dicks? Not to mention Spike's mom has this very strange interaction with the woman as she gives birth. And somehow the baby isn't infected? There's some mention of placenta stopping the virus, but I don't know.
With the light coming through the window at the angle and the swamp gas off the shadow of Venus, I don't know what was happening.
Yeah, who knows? Who knows?
So,
while being chased yet again by Big Dick Alpha, we meet a man completely coated in like this yellow-orange shit that somehow stops the Alpha in his tracks. I mean, they explain it, but I don't need to get into that. This is Voldemort himself, Ralph Fiennes, a.k.a. Dr. Ian Kelson, the man they've been searching for. He proceeds to show them his impressive bone art structure collection. We're talking like football fields of intricate bone structures, some dozens of feet tall. Oh, and he's yellowish orange because he coats his body in iodine because the virus doesn't like it. I don't know.
Was weird.
It's all weird. It's all weird.
But Dr. Kelson is by far the best part of the movie. He's insanely interesting, has so many wonderful interactions with Spike and his mother Ilsa, or Isla. Yeah, I think it's Isla. That's fucking weird. And it leads to some very emotional moments. It's just too bad that it's only like 10 or 15 minutes of the movie and it's like an hour and 20 minutes into the movie or something like that. Like seriously, why couldn't this have been like most of the movie? So much of the movie involving Craven, I could have just done without it completely. But maybe his agent convinced the director, Danny Boyle, that they needed more Craven.
You're doing this. And they're like, all right, I fucking guess so. All right.
After that, we get an ending so bizarre and out of left field that it only makes sense in context of knowing that this is the first of 3 movies, 2 of which were filmed at the same time. I'll just say this, they might get sued by the makers of the Power Rangers over this. Anyway, 28 years later, to me wasn't really a necessary sequel. But then I heard it was coming out.
So I was like, you know what? Let's give it another shot.
And it's fine. I mean, I like a lot of how the film looks, but I hate when they talk about how it was filmed on iPhone 15 Max and a toaster. Then they show behind the scenes of some guy with an iPhone attached to like $6,000 in lenses and other shit. Then when the not zombies are shot with arrows, it looks so odd. They had like a bunch of phones in a series around them. It was stuttery, like it was going to be like some Matrix type shit, but then it just doesn't work for me. It almost looked like the film was pausing. It looked fucking terrible to me. To be honest, it reminded me of the effects in that Uwe Boll's House of the Dead. I mean, the gore was nothing to write home about, and the story was pretty basic, but at least the acting was pretty incredible, actually. Alfie Williams was wonderful as Spike, and Jodie Comer was heartbreaking as his mother, Isla, not Elsa. There's just so many things that didn't make sense to me, like the whole stuff with the pregnant woman and the baby, and there's a Swedish soldier. He has an iPhone, and he's talking about delivery drivers, but he himself looked like he was maybe in his mid-20s, so this stuff is just going on 28 years later after the outbreak, but they got all that shit. And then there's Not Zombie that looks like Cillian Murphy, but Danny Boyle says it's just a coincidence and didn't think people would notice. Like, what the fuck, dude?
Are you kidding me?
Giant alpha penis. But I've since tried to put that out of my mind.
Yeah, I don't remember how. I know it made me really uncomfortable.
Overall, I don't really recommend 28 Years Later unless you just really love this series, a series that has already disowned a third of its own movies. I guess we'll see how this new trilogy plays out. I like some of Danny Boyle's stuff, but I'm starting to question him now.
Some of the stuff he made was garbage.
Yeah, because it's the truth.
So I give 28 Years Later a C+. That was just kind of disappointing. But were your reviews disappointing last week as well? Well, a field in England resulted in one of the largest gaps in grades that I've ever heard in this show for quite a while, from an A- down to a C-. I give that movie a C-, and I give your review an A-. Wonder how I came up with those grades.
Mystery.
But what I think about your Just Before Dawn review, did I like it?
Yeah, actually, I think so.
All right.
At first, no was the answer.
First, no. No, he's a no.
No.
However, it was kind of short. But then Chris talked about his new website and design, so that brought it up a grade. So I give that review a B+. Okay, that was way more talking than I really had time to do, so I better get going. So until the next 28 Alpha Penis sequel, peace and love, guys.
I wish I could figure out where that's coming from. You're hearing that, right?
What?
That sound? Like, bling.
No.
Oh, you're not hearing it? Oh, don't worry about that. All right. Thanks for joining us. Next week on the show, 2 Patreon picks from Andre. Hard Ticket to Hawaii and Tenet, both of which I think are pretty available. I think Hard Ticket to Hawaii is on Plex and Tubi, and I think Tenet's on Tubi too, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, and that other one, the Jim Kelly one, is on Tubi. It's just not listed on Just Watch.
Just Watch did an update now, and like you don't see everything anymore, which is fucking annoying.
Oh, then it's useless.
Yeah. Okay. Anyway, so join our Patreon, patreon.com/outside the cinema. You get access to our show archives. You get the shows early. You get the suggest films and segments for the show. Join up. Help keep independent podcasting alive.
Yeah.
Join Chris and I on Instagram at Cthulhu, at OTC Bill. It's the only social media I really use. We do have a Facebook group that does have stuff going on in it from time to time. I'm going to be honest, I'm not on Facebook much anymore, but there is a group there that's got a bunch of members, so feel free to join in.
Yep.
And that's about it.
No, it's not. Hold on.
Oh, what?
I officially launched the store for my artwork.
Yes, you did.
It's called Spectopia. Right now we have a bunch of what I'm calling little dudes. They're ghosts and devils, and they're basically going to be, they can be your imaginary friend. Pick your favorite and buy a few. We had one sale, and I thank you. I'm not going to say who it is, but thank you for after we recorded the show, you bought our mascot on purple, Ix. Little ghost dude. Yep.
Dope.
So we're gonna put stuff out every week. We're coming up with advertising stuff. Just a little bit of a slow start to ease into it because we don't have experience in this. But it's spectopiaarts.com. It'll take you to Etsy where we're selling our stuff.
Sweet.
Gonna add cryptids next, I think.
All right, cool. So we'll be back next week.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Bye, everybody.
All right. Bye.